were saying that they weren't kind of buying into the title that they'd created for themselves. And I kind of felt like that too. I thought, oh, I just don't like the title. And that kind of, I know it sounds crazy, but kind of just like threw me off. And it was like, oh.
So the title of your book has nothing to do with the price of eggs. That's the thing. Titles of books change continuously. Some people go, nailed it, got it. There's nothing else I want but this title. The majority of people don't fall into that category. So that's why on Kindle Direct Publishing, when we create your account, you're able to change the title of that book right up until the point where you actually upload your cover and your interior. That's how often things change. And that's why I don't recommend people do their copyright. Like in Canada, we can copyright a literary work, an unpublished literary work. In the States, you can. It's a little bit more complicated. I'm not quite sure about the UK. But at the end of the day, the title really has nothing to do with anything. The title often becomes based on the content. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes people know, this is the title of my book because I've always wanted this to be the title of my book. But a lot of the time, it becomes a title based on the work that you're doing with the content. Okay. And then all of a sudden it becomes obvious that, oh my God, I can't believe I thought this would be the title. That's not at all what the title of this book is.
Yeah. I think that's right.
So don't allow yourself to feel that feeling of stuckness because of that. Just motor through it. Just ignore it. It doesn't matter.
Okay, cool.
What you want to do is get the essence of what is that book? What do I want to teach people? What do I want to bring to the world? What is it that I want people to learn when they buy my book and I'm able to give them XYZ? What is that? Okay. That's what you want to think about. And the more you focus on it, the more it expands, right? The less you focus on it, the more it stays back there in the bin, right? So you want to get attached to what it feels like to have that book out, and how your clients will benefit and how your readers will benefit. And I can guarantee you there's readers waiting for your book. You know, it's just, okay, you have to reprioritize this project and say, I want readers to get this from me because I know it will help them. And the moment you think outside of yourself and you attach it to somebody else getting something of value from you, all of a sudden you approach things in a very different perspective.
Awesome. Now, I immediately feel that you give me permission, or kind of, I immediately feel,
yeah,
great. Because I was kind of like building that monster again in my mind, even though I kind of sorted it out. But I think the title, again, just even though it's going back a few weeks, kind of like threw me, and I'm thinking, oh no, that's not what I wanted.
Forget the title. Just make it a title-less book for now. There's no title.
Okay.
Just say the title I'll know the title when I hear the title, when it comes to my mind. For now, just work on how do I want to serve? How do I want this book to impact people? What do I want to teach people? You know, what is it that I've experienced that I've become so familiar with that I'm just, that's so much part of my life that I want to teach other people? What is that?
Okay.
Just concentrate on that and how the people that are reading your book are now going to benefit. And that fires me up just when I think about how can I serve somebody else and know that I can change their life based on what I share. All of a sudden I want to get going. I get busy. The title has nothing to do with it. Don't worry about that. Don't get stuck on it. The title is going to change 5 times from Sunday.
Okay. Sounds about
right. Yeah. Iona went through the same thing. We've all been through the same thing. Titles change. So don't worry about that at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. So who's up next? Iona's up next. There we go.
Hello. I don't have a lot to say this week. I know you're going to faint. But yeah, so my book maybe completely changed. My first book has now become my second book, and I've got a new first book. So that's why I was nodding.
Totally understand. I went through it myself. I totally get it.
Yeah. So my new first book is getting called Making Waves, but it's bringing together all the things, all the quotes and all the inspirational and musings. And I've been struggling to get that into sections from last week.
Okay.
And I actually was crying yesterday. I'd had a meltdown. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I need to start again. Also knowing I was getting into perfection head.
Yeah.
And then actually I came back to, I don't know if you remember that I mentioned when we first all met that I had this process which I developed, these like 6 pillars from frazzled to fabulous, that I did this event and people showed up there who weren't even like taking time for themselves out of a room of 30 people. All the topics I covered, I broke it down into 6 things, sent them a PDF. And it's there on the floor and I'm like, fuck, there's my sections. And I only realized that half an hour ago. And actually Julia and I were on a call. I'm like, I can't believe I've like, what have I been doing? Trying to like invent a wheel when I have this.
Reinvent the wheel, but you've already got the real estate. It's already there.
Yeah. So I'm going to be working so everything I've got will absolutely fit into these sections as opposed to me trying to create other sections. So
good for you.
Yeah. So I'm back to that and happy to pass it on. So that's all I had to say.
So that's the beautiful thing about that. Most of us, myself included, have more real estate than we even realize we've got. Mm-hmm. And I went through this personally after the Kajabi summit in Irvine when I was there in April. And I sat there in the front row every day, VIP, right, like I could catch their spit, right there in front of my face. And everything is like searing through my brain. And everything that I was writing was like, I've already done that. I've already done that. I have that content. It's sitting in a file on my computer. I've already done that. And we don't give ourselves credit for the amount of real estate we've already created, which doesn't have to be, I've done that. It could be, I created that PDF like 3 years ago. Why don't I just use that, reconfigure it to the present day me of what I show up as, change a little bit of the vocabulary, maybe even change the visual or whatever, but boom.
Yeah.
I have it. And we're creators. That's what we do. We've got all of this information and most of us have got all this stuff. And when you go to write a book, that's your time to kind of bring in the troops and say, how is it that I'm here to write a book and I just didn't realize that I've done half of this stuff already. I've done this in my business with my clients, or I use a certain process like Mimi, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. You have a whole bunch of things that you recommend to clients regularly that you can actually say, I'm just going to download this right into my book. I've already done it. I have it. It's content for your book. Don't underestimate the fact that you have it.
And also I've got 6 blog posts waiting to go for me to launch my blog. And it's these 6 topics.
Right.
Waiting to go, but it's based on the emails that I sent out based on each topic to people. So I'm just going to go and get my 6 piles and it'll be so much easier. And after talking to Julia, I'm going to do 108 things, not 111 or 222, but 108. I was raised by Buddhist parents, so I include that in my intro.
Right.
Because doing a whole mantra is 108 times.
Yeah, 108. That's the number. Yeah. And you know that the number 8 for the month of August is super powerful, right? Ooh. Actually, 888. 3 8. Okay. Yeah.
Very good. So I'm on a roll for next time.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So then let that lead. Let that lead. That's awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So Julia, where are we at with Julia? Hello.
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 Hello. So I'm a little bit, sort of not doing anything.
Okay. So what's happening? What's happening in your big world?
So in my big world, we're moving back to Liverpool by sort of the 21st of August.
Right.
And then we're going to be living with my parents for 6 weeks.
Okay.
Until our tenant moves out of our apartment so we can refurbish and smudge it and stuff and recarpet it and then move back in beginning of October. So we're packing, we're storage units, we're hiring vans. There's a lot of stuff going on, and at the same time finding work. I've got an interview on Tuesday for a roll up in Liverpool, and William's got an interview on Friday. So there's a lot of stuff kind of happening on the periphery. And although I haven't actually done any writing, although I have sent out quite a lot of questions to some of my muses, and going back to Mimi, my book has changed also. So, and I don't know, this part of me thinks that I'm actually doing both at the same time in a very weird way. But so I'm now telling the story of how I started drawing people 10 years ago when I was living in France for 6 months, and how that all came about. And I'm revisiting some of the people that I've drawn who have sort of stepped forward that I've asked. I mean, there's a lot of them, but I'm kind of hand choosing people initially, and they're answering my questions as to what made them step forward. Do they still have the drawing, the muse in their life? Does it resonate? How has she or he been over the last sort of 7-8 years? So I've been receiving questions back. So I've probably got about, I think I've got 11 back. And I sent out 30.
Okay.
And it's really interesting and very positive to get back, you know, that they're still
feedback.
Resonating. So I haven't really pulled anything together, but I've been reconfiguring my website. I'm quite interested to hear about your website man and the whole
yeah, he's pretty great. He's working with Indra right now as well.
Yeah, because she'd mentioned him to me as well.
Yeah.
And she said he's like amazing. So I'm quite interested in that. Obviously not right this moment, but I'm bringing all of my website under one banner. And that is the design side, the commission side, the healing side, the Reiki side. I'm trying to take some of my stuff out of my storage on my computer, things that I've written, courses that I've written that are just lie there doing nothing, and I'm making it available.
So what's your website domain? What is the domain name?
So it's juliaharvey.co.uk.
Okay, perfect.
There's no .com available. She's already gone. So I've had .co.uk for a few years now, so I thought, well, I'll just stick with that.
Yeah.
And my other domain is Julia Harvey Designs. So I'm basically having it just under Julia Harvey, but there's a design aspect and there's a healing Reiki.
So that's always my recommendation, that yourname.com is primary as your umbrella brand, and then everything falls underneath it. So you can just have if you go to my website, you've got Oxygen Publishing, click, goes over there, right? If you go to my book, goes over there. So that's what you want to do, because the whole idea is to optimize the visits to your website. And Nathan is brilliant that way, because I will say, okay, well, I'm just going to put I'll put a video up in my landing page on Kajabi. He goes, no, we'll put that video on your WordPress site, because the amount of time people spend looking at a video on your WordPress site will further optimize your WordPress site, right? So he's got the brain behind all of these things, because you want to use your website as a funnel. Your website is there for you to actually attract business and do business with your website for as many call to actions as you have. So if your book is there, your Reiki is there, your drawings are there. It doesn't matter if you send them off to another web domain or another hosted website, but as long as they go to one first.
Yeah.
The main one.
And so that's really what I'm trying to do. Although I was trying to not, now you're saying that, I'm thinking, well, actually, should I still have Julia Harvey Designs? And then
sure. Because you have, so on your main website, you would have designs, click, and it would go to Julia Harvey Designs. Yeah. So it's okay to send them away, but then you come to one place first. Yeah, for sure.
So, but at the same time, I've not been doing any writing per se. Although what was really weird, and I'll just share this example, is I went to meet a friend in London I got on the train, and all of a sudden I had this huge download of stuff, and I'm like, I had my little tiny bag. I'm like, shit, I've got nothing to write with. I had a pen.
That's what you don't want to find yourself in that situation.
Yeah,
right?
so I had a pen in my bag, and then I realized when I looked through my bag that I had the receipt from the hotel that I stayed in when it was my birthday the week before, still in my little bag. So I literally wrote on that side, took the receipt out, wrote on the back. It's a brilliant piece of, like, you know, somebody will find it in 100 years' time and go. And that was really interesting.
That's the lesson. That's the lesson.
And that was very much about, what is it about being a muse? How can you get in touch with your muse? Who is the muse? Is it you? Is it external? Is it internal? And it just literally all came through.
That's so the one recommendation I have, is that when you are in book writing mode, you have no control over when the downloads are going to come. You must be ready. So have a notepad, have your phone, have something to capture the data. I use the sticky note pads, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And I actually, if I don't see one somewhere, it's like, I have to get one in the car. I have to get one by my nightstand. Like, if I use one up or I misplace it, I've got to replace it, because I know already that I'm going to get stuff and it's going to come to me, and I can't not record it somehow. Right. So that's the thing. Just be prepared, because like that's going to happen.
Well, I really will next time, because I literally thought I was just getting the train into London, and I had, a little bag. And
train is one of the best places, trains and planes, right? Because you're sitting idle, and you're kind of overseeing the world. The world's passing you by as you're in this you're in this space of non-movement while the rest of the world is moving around you, and all of a sudden your brain goes sure, Iona.
So
I'm unmuting. Unmute, will you? You'll have to unmute you. So there we go. Okay.
With the train thing, I wanted to add that anytime I go to London, I get subway signs, like words from signs jump out at me.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, it's like the Matrix. It's crazy. I get more signs from the subway in London than anywhere else.
Yeah, and once you're aware, because universal laws are working through us and all the time, right? They're showing us things. It's just enough if you're aware of what's happening around you, and if you're paying attention to the signs that are coming to you, and because I could get a sign along the highway when I'm driving, and that one sign could inspire me to start writing right now. Just it clicks with an idea, and then I'm off on some tangent. So if I don't have a phone that's near me, I will pull off the road. I'll find the next exit. I'll get off the road, right? And I will set myself up on record mode, because I don't want to let those ideas go. That's the life of being a writer and a creator, because they are going to come to you. You are going to get the downloads. You just want to be ready. That's all. Set yourself up in that way, because you're going to get more of that, Julia, especially since you're moving, right? You know how energy is moving in your life. You're moving, your physical space is moving. Where you're leaving one space, going to another. You're looking for, different opportunities job-wise. So all that energy is shifting. That's going to shift your mind too. Yeah. So, okay.
So I don't know. Yeah.
So don't concern yourself with what is or what isn't at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're in that place called the gap.
Yeah.
You're not quite here nor there.
No.
But you're not, it's not that you're nowhere. It's just that, your life is taking you in a certain direction, and all the ideas that you have, just keep capturing them, because they're going to make sense eventually. Right? Whatever it is that the book is going to end up being, and that's what's so beautiful. We don't know. We don't know what is going to end up being the final result. We think we're on one path, and all of a sudden something comes in and it's a different path. But the bottom line is you're meant to write and produce your next book. So what is that going to be? It could be an accumulation of experiences that you've lived. Part of your story is being written right now.
Yeah.
Right? Your story is being written in real time right now. And, you know, a lot of the times we don't produce books because we think, oh, we procrastinated. And it's not that. It's just that the book is meant to be this. And it's like universe goes, listen, I'm sorry I'm not moving you forward in this, but you've got like all these life experiences that are meant to go in that book and you haven't learned them yet. So we're going to give them to you. You're going to learn them. And then they're going to go where they're meant to go in that book. So that's why I don't have any write a book in a weekend and everything's going to download in one fell swoop and you have a book in a 3-day. I don't believe that's actually how books are written. Right? There's a lot more that comes out of us organically. It's holistic. It's intuitive. There's a lot more to writing a book than just putting a bunch of words on a page, which you've all figured that out by now.
Yeah.
Right. So it's tough to say that there's a specific timeline, but just allow for things in your life to happen, but then be aware of what's coming to you while you're doing all those things.
Yes. And I am still writing in the morning. So there might be things in there that, you know, that will go in there. I haven't pull them out yet, but there is stuff that's still coming every day, really. And I'm still doing your gratitudes. I'm still doing your gratitude book.
Yeah, I do my gratitude book too. Because every once in a while we all need to kind of go back to basics.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's important. Yeah, a lot of things are happening in summer months, and you know, life is busy. Sometimes we just got to go back to the basics. It grounds us, you know.
Yeah.
Especially if our life is moving. Like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hello, Iona.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I said I didn't have much to say. Your web guy, Nathan.
Yes.
Because I need to do something to my website. It's from 2 years ago, and So, is he like he could help or tell me or see if he could help?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Where is he based?
He's in Toronto.
Okay.
So he's part of my team. He's awesome. He's just one of those bro. That's his zone of genius. You know, he handles my stuff, but he handles my client stuff, and I just let him go to town. He has all that stuff that I know nothing about.
Trying to figure out who to, and I love the fact that he told you, no, don't put it there, put it here. Because I have a web guy, but he does what I tell him, but I need somebody to go, no, don't do it that way, do it this way.
No, totally. He's that way. He will tell you.
With him so I can figure this out, because it's, I just keep adding things in.
Oh, is your website on WordPress? Okay. Yeah. He'll be able to help you, no problem. Well, he's HTML. I mean, he's a program. He's done it all, right?
Yeah.
So, he loves to serve clients like us. That's what he really, really loves. And he knows how to expand. So he knows how to create, campaigns. He knows how to duplicate you.
So he can deal with people who are creatives whose minds are like that.
Oh yeah. But he's able to take all of that and he's able to infuse it down into his very, very specific analytical, technical brain. So so I found him through a client of mine, an author client of mine, and I've been using him for all of my authors and whatnot. So I'll just introduce you on email.
Perfect.
You guys can have a conversation and take it from there.
Okay, I know we're handing on to Elizabeth. Sorry, yeah. I will be leaving like about 5-10 minutes before the call ends. Just so you know.
Okay.
Love you all.
Okay. Have a good rest of your night. Okay, Elizabeth Gordon in the library like a true author. Doesn't she look like an authority just sitting there? It's quite an author space you're in.
I've tidied my room now because I used to have this side was neat and the rest of the room was just full of garbage, and that was what I was looking at.
That won't do.
So I spent about 5 days sorting stuff out and throwing lots away. So it feels a lot better now. So.
Yeah, unclutter your space, unclutter your mind.
Yeah. I think I'm a bit of a mixture of everyone else, really. I feel I've been not necessarily writing in my Google Doc, but I've been having insights and downloads and making notes in different places and last time I felt very stuck, and not just with the book, but stuck with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had quite a few really quite profound insights about why that happened and how I can shift that. So that's been a positive thing. I noticed on the last session when Natalie started talking about living in Cornwall, how that totally transformed her energy, and that was the point of everything she was doing. And my husband and I would like to go and live in France, sort of permanently, not just to go there for holidays. And I think a lot of my stuckness has been that I've been wanting that, but he hasn't been on the same page, whereas now we're more united in doing that. So you feel like what you're doing has a clearer purpose, a point to it. And so I think hopefully I'll be able to do more in this coming week. And pull some of the stuff.
So what you want to do is focus on the result. It's like anything. It's like deciding that you want to move. You focus on where you want to go. You focus on the destination. You program it into the GPS, and then you don't worry about how you're going to get there. You just know you're going to get there. But you've made a decision about where you're going. Okay, so like if you wanted to move to France, you would start looking up properties, and you would start putting your house on the market, and you would start doing things, taking action towards the final result, which is moving to France. Same thing with the book. The book is, an item that you are in the process of creating and doing. So you say to yourself, okay, the final result for me is getting this book out there into the world. So let's reverse engineer it. How do we have to do that? What do we have to do every month, every week, every day that we have to do to get to that result? What happens with all of us is when we go to write a book, all of a sudden, when we get to kind of the core issues, or when it gets to kind of the tougher part, which is really sitting down and getting the grit out and getting things out of our head, we find a lot of other things that are a lot more attractive to do. Like for me, it's even been like laundry. Like laundry is a lot more fun than actually sitting down and finishing a sentence, right? All of a sudden it's like, oh, I have to clean the floors. I think I'll go do that. It's like, just finish what you're doing. Finish what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm very bad. I'm a very bad completer finisher.
It's neither good nor bad, right? It's your thinking that makes it so. So I don't want you to identify with a good or a bad. Just like, okay, what do I have to do a little bit differently to get the result that I want? Right? It would be like you and your husband talking about going to France for the next 5 years and say, okay, if we don't actually look up a property, we're not going anywhere, right? So you got to say, what do I have to do a little differently to get me to the result that I want? But what you really want to get attached to is the result. Like if you said to me, well, okay, or somebody said to me, you're moving down south and you're going to spend 6 months there every year, like I would get so fired up, it would take me like 5 seconds to get online and start looking. So as much as that fires you up, you want to get as fired up about the idea that somebody's going to read my book and I'm going to change their life. Like that's the truth, because that is guaranteed. That I can absolutely 1,000% assure you. I've published dozens and dozens of books, and books change lives. So it will happen for you too. You just want to get attached to what that feels like, as if it's already achieved, and let that be your motivator. Just as if somebody sent you a listing for a property in France and you went, oh my gosh, I love that house. We got to go see that house. We got to call an agent. We've got to go and see that. You would start taking action towards the result. So the book is the same. Yeah. It's the same thing. So the only way to really get inspired, because let's face it, writing a book is like, it's monotonous. Who's really inspired to sit down and write? It's not an easy thing to do, and that's why most people never achieve the goal, because they just never actually do it. So you've got to get attached to the outcome of what it feels like now that the book is in your house, in other people's houses, the cover is done, your name's on the front, people are like leaving reviews, they're calling you and they're going, oh my gosh, thank God you wrote this book. Because I like, until I read your book, I had no idea how, uncomfortable my life was, how much I was not like clear on what was dis-ease in my life, but you've cleared it all up, and now I feel better. I mean, that fires me up, just to think that I can change the life of another person. So it's getting attached to the outcome as if it's this big project, like a big exciting move, because it is. It's a big change, and it's a big accomplishment. People tend to put books into this kind of this little box over here, and it's like, well, when I have time for it, I'll do it. When I feel like it, I'll do it. When I get inspired to write, I'll do it. No. You got to flip it. You got to flip it upside down. You got to say, oh my gosh, I can't waste one more day, because this book is going to mean something to somebody. And if I don't get my butt in gear, I'm just going to be talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. My favorite people are the people that come to me year after year and say, oh, Carolyn, it's great to see you at whatever function. I understand they're still writing their book, but I also understand they haven't taken any action. Right? And sometimes we get really addicted to this idea of, I'm writing a book. It's like, yeah, but how about we write the book, and how about we publish the book? And then you can change the lives of people. Right? So life does get in the way, not discounting that for a second. Like, circumstances do show up, but we get to choose how this project fits into those circumstances. Sometimes it'll take a back seat for a bit, but we want to put it back on the front burner as fast as we can.
I think I was what you were saying to Julia, it's all about, you're it's still evolving as you're writing it.
Yeah.
And, you're learning lessons that you perhaps should have learned a long time ago. You're finally, the penny's dropping and you're really getting it. And that's all, I think, all part of the book writing process.
Yes.
And you can dismiss that and think, I haven't written X words, but I think that is the really deep value to ourselves of writing a book. And then obviously there'll be the value to other people.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Before your readers get a chance to change their lives with your book, you have to change your life with your book. That's what the author's odyssey is all about. So there is no one author that starts the process here, and it's not linear. It does this, right? Right? So you've got the law of rhythm that is always moving through your life. When you start here to the point where you publish your book, no matter how many times you've taken this ride, you're different. You've changed. You've taken the journey first. You've done the change, the growth, the transformation. That's why when I say, when you're called to write a book, it's not about putting a bunch of words on a page. Writing a book is about your personal growth. You're called to write a book because the universe says, or God says, or spirit says, right, you need to go here. You're here, you need to go here. We think your best therapy is through your words. So we're going to inspire you to write a book so that your best way of working through whatever it is you're working through, you're getting it out of you and you're putting it on paper. And guess what? The added bonus is you're going to inspire a bunch of other people. But there's no author that writes a book that doesn't transform first. And again, that's one of the reasons why people don't accomplish the goal, because they resist the change. They resist the growth. They resist the transformation. So whatever we resist persists. So the lessons we're meant to learn in life are coming to us via our calling to write the book. And when we don't write the book, it's not about, I don't have enough discipline to sit down and put a bunch of words on the page. It's way bigger than that. It's because you're resisting learning what you need to learn. It's because you're not taking seriously the fact that this book is actually part of my own journey, right? My own transformational journey. Yes, my dear. Hang on. I don't know why I can't. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Don't you love it when I'm on the calls? I was going to say this is so true because I haven't had an ear infection. I get them all my life. In 2 years, I've had an ear infection since last Sunday. I threw my back out yesterday and I was crying yesterday.
Oh.
I've been resisting and I'm like, oh, fucking hell, these lessons are coming at me. And I know, so it's exactly what you're saying.
Oh yeah, especially if you don't have any kind of energy work done. Like if you're moving, or if you're like doing just an awful lot of meditating and moving energy, you know what healing crisis is. It's gonna take you 2-3 days, and all this stuff is gonna come out. But writing a book does the same thing. It's therapeutic, right? So if this stuff is coming up and it's coming out, if you resist it, it doesn't come out and it doesn't move out of you. Because that's the good news. Once this stuff comes out of you, it's gone. It can't come back in. So same reason why people can't, they make a decision, they want to write a book, but then they resist it and they don't do it. They don't make the change, growth, and transformation. They don't allow themselves to move forward. And so the lessons don't get learned, and then the book doesn't get written. And it's a shame. It's a shame. But what people don't understand is writing the book, you have to allow the change to come to you and through you and out onto the page. That's why my work is very different from most, coaches and publishers, because it's not linear. It's a growth process. And if we look at it that way, we can be, first of all, a lot more compassionate with ourselves. And we can say, yeah, I didn't get to it this week because I've been learning some stuff. And I'm aware that I'm learning. And guess what? I needed to learn that to get to the next phase of the writing of my book, so that the people that are going to read my book are going to learn from me. Right? So your creator, oh yes, yes, Debbie Ford. Yeah, she's terrific. Yeah, really wonderful stuff. So that's it. So number one, yes, be patient with yourself. Number one. Go ahead, Julia. Yeah, the dark side.
Sorry, can I do something? Because it just really popped into my head, and I thought I'm just going to share it. I don't know if any of you have read Gary Barlow's book, Better Than Me. Gary Barlow, I don't know if you're aware, Carolyn, is one of the he's in Take That, the male band in the UK.
Okay.
But he's also he writes theatre and music, and I read his book, but I read it via Audible. Sorry, I listened to it via Audible. Yeah. But it's just a great example of what you're saying about how things changes, because in the beginning of the book, he talks about the fact that when this is his second autobiography, and he said that when he sat down to write the book, he thought it was just going to be about his career and what he's done since Take That, I've got back together again since 2005. But what actually happened in the whole process was that he realized that the book was all about his relationship to food, and how he was completely depressed and overweight and all about food. And he said it was in the writing process
he discovered,
flipped the whole thing around. Yeah. And the book now is about his journey with food, how he used to make himself sick, and how he used to binge, and his depression, which was completely not why he set out to write. And yeah. It's really interesting, if you're on Audible, to listen to his story, because it's not what you think it's going to be about. You think it's just going to be about Gary Barlow talking about Take That, got back together, and that's weaved in, but it's not about that. It's about his wife's miscarriage and all sorts of things. So
it's way bigger. It's way bigger than what you think it is. That's why, moving through this process, this is part of what you learn. That a lot of people are in it and they go, okay, I don't understand it, so therefore I think I'm like a little nuts, so I'm going to just stop this because it doesn't make any sense to me. But the fact is, it all makes sense, right? Like Mimi, you were saying, like, the title and the book, and like don't go into that place where you say it must be this or it must be that. It doesn't have to be anything right now. What it needs to be is whatever you're creating and whatever you feel that. And when we started in May, right, at JTW, you may have thought that, oh, right, got it. This is my book. From now till when the book is actually created, it may reincarnate itself 4, 5, 10 times. You don't know that. But as you start paying attention to it, as you start focusing on it, as you start really feeling into what do I want them to learn, you will start crafting the sculpture. And it doesn't matter what it was a week ago or 10 days ago or 3 months ago. It's whatever you feel it needs to be right now. And you'll know, like by the way you feel, you'll know that that is the truth. This is what my book is meant to be. And you will feel it. And once you feel it, you'll be off to the races. It's like fasten the seatbelt. I know exactly what I need to do now. Until you get there, you need to give it your attention, right? You need to spend some time with it every day or every week, or meditate on it and ask for guidance and say, I really need to know what is the best version of this book? What am I meant to do with this book? And you know you're going to get the answers. And how is it that I want to show up? And how is it that I want people to learn from this book that I'm going to produce? And maybe it'll be, exactly what we talked about. Maybe it'll be off. Maybe all of a sudden you get some new ideas that'll say, you know what, I never thought of that before. That has to go into my book. I didn't think that had a place there, but now I know that. So it's a very, very, it's a very holistic process that you participate in, right? And your entire idea is really to bring value to other people's lives. And when we look at it in that perspective, and how is it that what I know, what I do, my experience, my zone of genius, how is it that I can impact the life of another person? Kind of takes us out of that place of, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's okay. So what? So what? So it's hard. Good things are worth doing, right? Valuable things are worth doing. They're worth focusing on and paying attention to. So we're all in the same boat, no matter if you're creating a book or a course or you're moving to France. Good things are worth doing. It takes effort. It takes some action and some focus. Books are no different than any other project. It requires some attention. So, Elizabeth, how are you feeling about putting some of these ideas? Because I know you had organized yourself in a certain way you had given yourself a lot of clarity. And last week you wanted to kind of, you were thinking about, well, I don't want to focus so much on my story. And we said, well, we'll put your story in the background for now. Let's just focus on their story. How can you help other people?
Yeah, I think although I did that, and that was slightly blocking me, I think I've had downloads since.
Yep.
That I understand more what were the parts of my story that I still hadn't resolved or learned the lessons from.
Right.
And that does affect what you want to put in it. And I think a lot of my book is effectively about how you can be stuck in your story, and it's what you need to do to be able to move out and create a new story of how you really want it to be.
Yeah.
Because I was ill for such a long time, it became completely entrenched in my sort of personality, really. And
there's no question, you can become the story. You can have things show up in your life like dis-ease, but you got to decide how long you want to play the role in that story, because it can become you.
Yes. So I think that's another part of writing is, it's helping my own healing and learning and growth, not just so I think there's a lot of that I've done that I haven't captured in what I've written down in the one place. So it's bringing together stuff. But it is completely evolving. As I'm going along, and in a way, if I compared it to, say, moving to France, in a way that feels easier and more obvious, whereas some of this really deep transformational stuff just feels harder to do than you know, one of these big projects, you know, they're much clearer how you would do it.
Because you know how,
Yeah.
right? Anything that we know how to do is easy. But when you're on a road with, you know, where you have blinders on, where you don't know the path in front of you, where the unknown is in front of you, of course, it's going to be a little bit cloudy and a little bit foggy. Okay. But when you take your eyes off of you and you focus on your reader, and you say, okay, I want to give them a path to follow. So if you take yourself out of the equation, okay, and disengage from the emotion of that and say, okay, XYZ is a client, a patient, you know, a student, and they present with XYZ like I did. How would I help them? Like, I know I feel better now. I know I had to do all the work, all the legwork, and all the research to figure out how to feel better. But if I could help them cut out 5 steps in the middle, and I could say, you know what, this is what I did. This is how I moved through where you are, and I can help shorten so that you're not suffering. If you put yourself in that compassionate place, I guarantee you're going to want to write like right now. You want to help people. I think that's what we all write books for. I think that's of service to other people because we have all this wisdom, our zone of genius, things that we've learned, things that we can contribute.
I think quite often I overdo the compassion and the giving for other people, and I big insight is that I need to be compassionate to myself for the journey I've been on.
Yep. And
not keep comparing to how my life might have turned out.
No, you can't go there. That was then. This is now, right? You're moving forward from here. Everything that happened up until now gave you the tools, and they gave you the wisdom and the understanding of how to move forward. Now your biggest gift is to be able to share it. That's your biggest gift now. And you're all in that same boat. Julia's in the same, Mimi, you're all the same. You understand things clearer, you've learned things. Now you want to go share what you've learned so that other people can learn from you. You become the authority, which is what an author is. You become the authority on the subject by which you're teaching. Right? So that's where we all put ourselves. It's a leadership role. You want to step into that leadership role. And understand that, you know, you're being called there. It's not by accident. There's a reason that you're called to write a book, because that book is meant to impact other lives. And imagine if everyone who was called to write a book and share the wisdom actually did it, like, look at how many people could be helping people, you know, but people shrink away from it. They say, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, it's hard. I'm not going to do it. Or it's not convenient, or I don't have enough knowledge, or who am I to write this book, and who would care? And then they play small, and it doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your readers. It doesn't serve humanity. Everybody should be playing at a much bigger role because you're here. You've learned. Share it. Right? So yeah, it means putting things on paper or recording it, and the actual process of putting that book together, that's not the challenge. Okay, that's all doable. We got editors for that. We got designers for that, right? That's not the challenge. The challenge is you and your story and getting it out of you. That's the challenge, right? And if you can deal with you and put yourself in that place where you say, you know, it may be a challenge for me to do that, but I know that there's a bigger reason that's beyond me for this. That's how you get out of your own way. That's how you make time for it. All of a sudden you feel like doing it. It's like, get out of my way. We all do it. We all do it. You're laughing, Mimi. Sounds like you resonate with that.
Totally. I do, yeah. I'm just making so many notes here, but yeah, I do. And also I notice when my voice is gone and it's been fine all day, but when I don't want to talk about something, boom, and I think I've done it before on this.
It's throat chakra. It's throat chakra time.
every time when I don't want to talk about or what
Resisting. It's just resisting. That's all.
Resisting, and I'm doing it all the time. I was so ill like 2 weeks ago. Literally, I had norovirus, and we all had it in the family. I was the last person to get it, and it took about a week and a half for me to get over it.
Yeah.
I was so weak, so dehydrated, couldn't get myself together. Just literally,
knocked you down. Get that
knocked,
vitamin C going.
Literally knocked me out. Literally knocked me out. And then I realized that I need this time. I need to just kind of have time to, because I'm so busy doing other things, and I know we're all busy, but somebody has literally knocked me off my feet and said, right, you need time to sit down and think about this.
The universe does that to you.
Yeah.
If you're not listening, it goes, I'm so sorry I have to do this to you, but bam.
Yeah. My foot,
sit down.
my foot has been this ongoing thing where literally it's knocked me off. Literally, I've not been able to walk. I've been on crutches. I've just had an awful time.
My mother died on the 1st of December of last year, and on the 3rd of December, just taking my regular everyday stupid walk every single morning, I just slipped and fractured my ankle. Right? I had a cast on, I had the walker going on. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? But I understood what was going on.
Yeah.
I understood. It was me having to say, okay, I need help. I have to sit. I have things to think about. I have things to focus on other than, and it was a question of planning a funeral, planning my trip that was already booked for the end of the year, my son coming in from the UK for his grandmother's funeral, Christmas, right? Everything was happening. I was launching my company. Everything was happening at the same time. So you'd think, why would the universe do that? Well, of course, it supported me. It did it for me. Right, because had I been running around like chasing my tail, it would have caused dis-ease in me. So I said, I know I got all this stuff. I know you got all this stuff going on. I'm really sorry to have to do this, but we have to break your ankle. So you're going to sit on your butt. Yeah. You're going to have your son help you. You're going to have your family help you, and you're going to take a load off because that's what's required for you right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as soon as you understand it.
Yeah, that's exactly why it's happened again. Because I'm already out there and I'm doing things, and I'm taking the granddaughter, and I'm all this stuff that I'm doing, and I need time to sit down because I have to do this.
Yeah,
it's been there with me for so long.
Yeah,
I will admit that this title thing kind of really threw me, because I thought that was it, and it isn't. But now it doesn't matter. So
does not matter one bit.
Why am I getting hung up on that?
Because you're resisting, because it's just part of you. It's part of your alibis. It's part of the reasons where you say, oh, okay, I can't figure out the title, so I can't work on it anymore because I can't figure out the title.
Nobody said the title had to come first.
No. We have the title there as a working title. Titles don't come first. Titles are like,
no way. What's wrong with me?
No, totally normal. Everybody does it. It's just a little ploy. It's just you're just like join the group. Everyone does it. My job is to notice it and to talk you through it.
Well, thank you for that. Well noticed. Yeah, okay. I'm cool with that now. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and once you're aware of it, you go, oh, okay, I get what I'm doing now.
I'm not alone.
No, you're certainly not.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Elizabeth, are you have a little bit more what do you think you're going to move towards this week?
I think definitely capturing all these insights and downloads I've had in the last
okay, that's good.
week or so, because I've got some of them down, but some notes, but it's like you say, where do you have them? Where do you really capture it, or does it float off again? And
capture it and then go take all your captures like a search and rescue mission and start bringing them into one place. Yeah, because you probably have more content than you realize.
Yeah, I think I have got so much stuff, and it could potentially be overwhelming to the reader and to me, but it's if I can at least throw them down somewhere.
Yeah.
then
don't forget, it will all get organized like a big giant jigsaw puzzle on a table. So just amass the content, organize it that makes you feel comfortable so that you don't feel overwhelmed. But don't worry about your reader feeling overwhelmed, because there's plenty of time to organize that properly, and then editing happens, like assessments happen. So you don't have to worry about the way it is right now is what the reader's going to get. That's all going to get organized before you're done. You just want to get as much as you can from your head and from your notes and from your downloads kind of into one place, so that you can start to look at it and go, okay, yeah, look at, I'm here. I've got plenty. I need a little bit more of this. I need to maybe research a little bit more of this or add a little bit more of this. But you start growing it as an entity called a book. And then
my slight danger is that I absolutely love research and learning, so I could literally go off ad infinitum, and it's is that really important?
It is important if what it is that you want to get across to your reader, if there's certain researching processes, if there's certain, magazines, books, anything like that. Because don't forget, you can create a resource page on the back of your book. You could have recommended reading on the back of your book, inside your book. You could have a whole section called recommended reading, so that a lot of these things that you've referred to that you want other people to read, you can list those things for them. So it gives you this repurposing of your research. So when you're researching and reading books, you say, well, I'm doing that, but I'm also giving my readers another resource that they can click into, or they can go and refer to that could be helpful to them.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever a waste of time. Everything you do has a purpose, right? Nothing is ever a waste of time. So if you're say, I really love researching and I want to provide more value by giving all sorts of resources for my readers, go and do that. Then it's important. Because there's nothing I love better when I read a book than to go to the back of the book, and even if they don't provide a research area, I have all of the references that they used to write the book.
Yeah.
And then I go to that reference list and I go, oh, that looks interesting. I want to read that.
That's what I do. I literally almost follow a trail.
Yeah. So make the trail for your own readers. Do the same thing. You love it. Presume your readers will love it. Do the same thing for them.
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, Julia. How are you feeling there, Julia?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, actually, just in what you were saying about that I wrote down here, how do I want people to learn in this book? What do I need to go into? We're here to help people and step into the leadership role. Writing a book is about personal growth. Before your readers change their life with your book, you need to change your life with your book. And so, yes, there's a lot of stuff going on with me in the actual reality of day to day. But every day I can actually be taking a little step towards this.
Yeah.
And I guess I think I've gone off the boil a bit in the last week, just because, vans and packing and boxes. But actually it will ground me if I carry on with it a little bit every day, and that only has to be half an hour.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be much, but you'll feel this great sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Anytime we take baby steps towards something, we just go, it's like making your bed in the morning. It's so, it seems like such a trite little exercise, but get up, make bed. It's like, okay, I accomplished the first thing of the day.
Yeah.
Right. And you're off and running. So, if you just do 30 minutes or 20 minutes and say, okay, I gave my book its due today.
Yeah.
I plugged into it today for a little while. You're going to start to feel that sense of accomplishment. And that's what's important.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So
thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I know that if you have questions in between, just contact me. Just get in touch with me and say, I'm kind of feeling like this. And then I can walk you, talk you, move you through that to get you to the next place, because sometimes it's just that. You just need that.
Yeah.
Just an adjustment. Like my friend says, oh, you're like going to chiropractor. you just do a little adjustment and I'm off and running again. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Just what I needed to hear.
Good.
Thank you.
Because often our ideas spark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And go with those. And then
Love it
you're
to
off
see
and
everybody else.
Yeah, and everyone's going through the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. None of you are alone. So anyway, reach out to one another. You know, you have this group.
Yeah.
And certainly reach out to me if you need anything in the meantime before I see you again next week, because we're moving into the final month of our work together, and now we want to I want to start to really get into where do we want to go? What do you want to do with these books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fabulous.
Okay, well, have a good week, everybody. Always a pleasure to see you all on Sunday night for you.
Thanks, love.
And we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy, everybody. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.